Strike it up. Mr. DJ, cut the music. Welcome. Thank you for coming, everybody. Minister, thank you for activating us now. JP said to me, he says, I must activate. So I tried to do that with a little bit of conservative drama. So, sorry, I'd like to, first of all, humbly welcome you here. When I look around, I see our trusted customers. I get confused sometimes because are they Fujitsu or my customers? We have so many people that are Fujitsu people in our customer base. Our partners, thank you for being here. The press, thank you. For our colleagues online, thank you very much. When I look at what I see, knowing what we do, I see power. I see the power and potential for change. I also see the power for regional progress. And Minister, I'm so aligned to your thoughts on this that it kind of like has given an extra boost to some of the things that I would want to share. So we're here today about regional progress. So let's just talk about that for a moment. So I decided to partner with AI to try and get a sense of what are the pressing issues that the region faces. And in partner with AI, I said, let me just understand the perspective from 3 countries in particular, Jamaica, Barbados, and Trinidad, to understand the perspective of private sector, government, funding agencies, and people as to what they saw as the pressing issues. Just where's the joining up of those? And that's the power of AI, right? And these are the things that it provided insights on, right? And I think, Minister, you would relate to these, business would relate to these, you know, limited access to funding to do some of the initiatives that we have, also private access to funding, slow to digital adoption and regulatory change, real issues that we need to deal with, social stability, crime in Jamaica, crime in Trinidad, real things we need to tackle. Slow diversification, the time it's taken for us to move from our heritage industries, which we need to diversify from with speed. Capability gaps, a big issue. And that combined with the adoption of digital is causing us productivity gaps. And of course, in all of this is the rapid advancements of AI. So a lot for us to contend with. Would you agree? And I think all of us have these issues of top of mind. And at the end of it all, what we see there is that technology and sustainability are key issues, top of mind issues for management. And I feel it when I engage the conversations that we have in trying to solve problems. But then we all have our vision and dreams. And we take time out as a business to understand this. We read your annual reports. We take time to understand what governments are saying is their ambition. And again, I said, let me partner with AI to see what the common perspectives are between government, private sector, but with a little extra focus here on what people are thinking. And so I found the insights that came very, very insightful. So if we look at the voice of national leadership, we see a dream of digital economy and competitiveness with AI adoption. We see modern, safe public services, secure, trusted systems. Again, we can all relate to this. I won't go through them all. But then when we look at the voice of the people, we see jobs and economic security, affordable connectivity, trust and fairness, and so on. And so you can see some tension there between a leadership perspective and a people perspective, things like competitiveness versus affordability. efficiency versus equity, and policy versus what it actually means to me at the end of the day. Those things need to be managed if we're going to be successful. But if we combine those dreams together into one dream, what we are saying is that we'd like an inclusive, secure, innovation-driven, and climate-smart digital economy, aligning policy ambition with lived experiences. So that is our dream. So what role can Fujitsu play? Because we have a responsibility. We've been an investor in this region for over 70 years now, and especially in Trinidad. And we feel very responsible for the role we have in Caribbean prosperity. And I just want to share our purpose. This is not a cliche statement. This is how Fujitsu in 2020 redefined itself in the context of how we use technology. Our purpose, the reason why we are here, the reason why I exist in this leadership role, is to make the world more sustainable by building trust in society through innovation. What do we mean by sustainability? For us, it's a regenerative society. It's one where there is economic growth, there's environmental balance, but more recently, there's the well-being of people is a part of that three-way dimension. To us, that is regenerative society. That's what we mean by sustainability. Trust is about value and security. Society is a human-centric notion. And innovation is about solving the most challenging problems that we have. So that is why we exist. To put it in a simpler way, we use technology to make happier lives. And by the way, because what we do is hard, and I can see some of you saying, but Mervyn, you never made my life happy. Collectively, we make happier lives. That is our role and our responsibility. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit later. And how we do it is by building new possibilities, by connecting people, technology, and ideas. That is why we are here today. That is what Fujitsu ActivateNow is. Because I can tell you the value of technology will not come from any one of us individually. It will come from what we do together. So I just want to share a little bit about our journey. And I'm very deliberate about the use of the word our, because I just want, I'll share our journey, but I want to put that against the perspective what I think our overall journey is. So globally and in the Caribbean, we've observed that the efforts of digital transformation have evolved into efforts of sustainability transformation. And now we see that as a post-COVID idea. We see that the pandemic really did change a perspective of government and business and life. And what we see is we see digital transformation as being the energy, the basis of providing sustainability transformation. And sustainability transformation is becoming more of an issue for business and government in this region, if only for compliance. Because you cannot coexist in a world without doing the fundamentals around sustainability. So that's the foundation of the transition that we've seen. I said we've been in the region for over 70 years. So if I was to start our journey, like if that was the journey here, I'd be over there and I'd be giving away my age. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to start like maybe 10 years ago, where digital transformation really as a theme became important. And what we've seen across the region is initially a period of preparing digital readiness, putting in the infrastructure, the core foundation to be digitally ready. Then that evolved into what we classify as business resilience. And that became very clear as an urgent need during the pandemic, when some businesses had to go out of business and the ability to pivot digitally became critical. But then what happened afterwards is that human perspectives changed. So sustainability became an important thing. How can we survive the next big hit? How prepared are we? But more importantly, how human-centric are we in delivering value? And that is where I think we are today. But we see a future of what I classify as social trust, whereby doing some of the things, Minister, that you speak of, by us collaborating and creating ecosystems. Because the real value of AI and the real value of technology doesn't come in silos. It comes from how you create relationships and insights through ecosystems. So I see that as a whole ecosystem conversation enabled by technology. Now, let me just share where our role has been. So I think as I look around the room, there can be no denial that Fujitsu became the lead in systems integration very early. In banks, the telco sector, I'm very proud to say that we essentially enabled deregulation. We were the beginning of Digicel. We were the template of their integrated solutions. We went wherever they went, even Papua New Guinea, through the excellence in our systems integration. Locally, Sherwin, I would think that iGovTT and GovNet is an awesome representation of that, as we evolved from just providing a backbone to providing a full service environment. And there are many more examples of that. And on that, we then evolved to become the leading managed service provider. We chose Trinidad to be the place to build the region's first Tier 3 data center. Before anybody else had done it, we saw the future. And from that time until now, it is the home of the government of Trinidad and Tobago's backbone. We also saw Trinidad as the place to build our first private cloud. First Citizens Bank, I think there were some people who registered from that. Our first private cloud customer. Thank you very much. We pioneered it. And then from our data center in Trinidad, we provide security services and network managed services from here with the excellence of our people. And then that evolved into what we see as increase in need for our customers, business, government, to really re-engineer their core applications. So we've seen that being, and that's really about value. And again, that's where we are. Looking to the future, we see integration requirements being replaced by potentially AI, low code, no code. And so the value we think in the future will be orchestration of reusable processes, orchestration of ecosystems. So that is what we're gearing up for the future. But in the end, technology, trust, and transformation is driving us in terms of our strategy here. There's just an observation I'd like to make on that. If we're aligned with that journey, if, in other words, if you're aligned with the overall journey, what I can tell, having been in it for some time, is that there's that journey towards value, towards the ecosystems that we need, requires increased digital maturity, requires increased change leadership. We have to aggressively focus on capabilities to support it. And there's stronger interdependency between all of us in this room. We have to learn to collaborate. And it's about value and trust. And my anxiety, colleagues, from my years of experience in this, is that as a region, we're dominantly individualistic and very siloed. At a country level, at an organization level, and at an individual level. The problem we face is that that culture will not result in a digital society. So to your point, Minister, we need to break that down. So allow me just to dig deeper for a moment into building business sustainability And I'm just going to spend a little bit in terms of what Fujitsu do to try and engender relevance, right? And then I'll move on to how we do it. So very quickly, we see cross-industry collaboration as being important. Within that, we focus in three key sectors: public sector, financial services, and commercial, where we have different areas of focus in each. This is just a high-level summary, right? Public sector, enable and transform citizen-centric services. We bring our human-centric perspective on things. In financial services, it's really around automation of processes, particularly engaging consumers and in the back end. And commercial, it's about digitizing assets and bringing value from them. We do that by building on three pillars of value. This is how we're organized, right? Business resilience, business sustainability, and business transformation. And within each of those, we've established capability units and developing a set of offerings. This is a process in progress, right? Like everything else. But one of the things that we've realized is that benefits realization is at the heart of everybody's mind. It's not just about the technology. And so we've strengthened our professional services capabilities to ensure that that's realized. So that's a summary of what we do. And in terms of what that means specifically, the value we bring on the business resilience is modernizing and securing your digital platforms. That includes platform modernization, migration of hybrid to cloud, to hybrid cloud, cybersecurity, managed services. And I'm very proud to share some of the organizations that we are working with. I think I saw Glenn walk in. There you go, Glenn. Thank you for coming. So we worked with WASA recently to help modernize their environment, infrastructure database from what it was, and moved it into hybrid cloud. So their applications are now hosted from our data center in Trinidad on a cloud basis, safe and secure, right? I think we're looking forward to the potential of modernizing the applications, but helping them on their journey to modernization. Similarly, UTC. Thank you. I mean, we have been working with UTC for a number of years now. In fact, we advise them on direction, we help cleanse their data, and then we've also modernized their environment, moved them to cloud. And I mentioned iGovTT already in terms of providing the foundation that has kept government connected. And from there, we've built a stack of services, not just to help them get connected, but to help them collaborate. Business sustainability, where we digitize records and focus on transforming end-to-end processes within the organization. Very proud to be working with NIBTT, ED and team, thank you very much. And that's an end-to-end. I mean, that's like from moving to cloud, hybrid cloud infrastructure, end-to-end applications, portals, data, the end works. Not an easy task, but at the end of the day is the promise to citizens to make their lives happier. Central Bank of Barbados, thank you very much. You'll hear more about that later, where we've worked with them to advise them on their own path for digital transformation, and specifically how they can automate their processes and how they connect with their ecosystem. And more recently, we were awarded a contract in Jamaica with the National Land Agency, very important, where we're going to be transforming how titles are issued. The goal there is to take a process that takes 6 months and to convert it into getting an e-title, completely electronic title, in 1 day. To do that, we'll be digitizing existing titles, we'll be introducing GIS systems, geographic information systems, and technology workflows with a partner that we have called Enola to actually get the digital process. Again, an ecosystem-based activity. And focusing on business transformation, where our role is to demystify AI and harness the power of data and create new ecosystems. Proud to say that we're on a project with the Central Bank of Jamaica, creating a data warehouse for them so that what they do in their core business is more insightful. In other words, collecting all these different sources of data, organizing it in a managed data warehouse so that they can leverage AI in what they do. Very important project. I've mentioned UTC already in terms of the work we've done there around data. Minister, I've put iGovTT there because I have to say we're very proud about the work that Trinidad has done in this space. The first to launch shared services. GovNet is an icon of success. And what GovNet is today is the basis of a platform to fulfill many of the things you speak, in that it creates an opportunity for it to be completely AI enabled. And my vision for GovNet is that it is the ecosystem platform that helps us realize value. So I'm just putting that there as a part of the vision. So very quickly, in terms of technology, I won't go through this. These are the 3 technology domains that we have, pillars of technology that go across sectors. And they're supported, these are global perspectives, so we are able to go deep in terms of technology access. And I just want to talk about AI briefly. Fujitsu's perspective of AI is that we see it as becoming our trusted assistant. And Fujitsu's focus on AI is very clear. 1, it needs to be human-centric. 2, it needs to be trustworthy. And 3, our focus is in using it to get value from industries. So that's what that is where our focus on AI is. And today we see people providing knowledge, creating knowledge. Tomorrow we see a partnership between AI and humans to create new insights and value. In fact, we see AI as being the accelerator because of its ability to join up things in accelerate a regenerative society. Some of the things that Fujitsu are doing, you may not know, is we're investing in industry-type applications like Co-Draft AI. So for the utility companies, I know that where you're regulated, we use AI to help respond to questions and things about regulation, to analyze all of the sources of data to come up with a draft response to whoever's inquired at. Right? That application is available to everybody. I won't go through the others. I do recommend, though, that you take time out to read Fujitsu's Global CXO Survey Report, where we were being it's a perspective based on a C-level survey that we conduct every year. Very insightful. So let me focus on how we deliver value. And Minister, I'll get to the word how, because you used it many times. And that word to me is, of the why, the what, and the how, is probably the most significant one, right? So this is in essence a high-level view of our operating model. So we look at the market from a cross-industry perspective because we see real value, especially with AI coming, if we can connect industries, right? And so we've invested in setting up a new business development team headed by Nico. Where's Nico? They're outside. And Christabella is a part of that team who's rejoined us recently. The focus there is to go out and create new innovative initiatives around cross-industry opportunities. Border management, for example, is a big issue. We then wish to become the best DX partner within the financial services, public sector, and commercial sector. And so you'll see our sales team on the JP evolve to take a more industry perspective and a more industry view, right? We engage customers and partners in a consultative, co-creative way. To support that, we've introduced a transformation management organization, a TMO, which is headed by Adrian, and he has a team supporting that. And then we've separated what we do into a more portfolio-oriented perspective. Our heritage business, which is around platforms and modernization, and our application business, which is around bringing value through digital activity. The gentleman at the back, Anthony, is helping us organize all of that into repeatable solutions. And then we extend our global organization. So if I look at that in a bit of a different way, with innovation at the center, And I'm sharing this for two things. One, to explain, because we haven't done this in a while, and the business that you may know as Fujitsu has changed, but also to ensure that we maintain our relevance in contributing to Trinidad society. So at the core of what we do is human-centric co-creation. And co-creation, as JP mentioned, is where we purposefully, through a set of best practices, combine technology innovation with domain expertise, which means that we will engage customers and governments and society in a different way. We're asking, please don't see us as a hardware company or a technology company. See us as a problem solver. See us in the form of what I've tried to describe today. Our local Caribbean communities are really centered around how we engage locally, the value we can bring, the context, the sovereignty. And of course, in Trinidad, we have our physical assets that are important in supporting that. A major advantage we have is that we can go deep in our organization, an organization that shares the same purpose of contributing value to Caribbean society, where we can scale. We're using that in a number of our projects here in the region, where we have to do lots of development or configuration. And then, of course, we have our partners, where we have a combination of global technology partners, Oracle, AWS, Microsoft, application hyperscalers, AWS, Google, and increasingly AI partners like Cohere, Palantir, where we're working with them throughout the world in supporting our AR strategy. And then we have local capability partners. The National Land Agency deal that I shared, we decided to launch a new local business, a set of entrepreneurs who had an ambition in that area, and rather than bringing that from elsewhere, we've supported and funded the launch of that business. That gives us great joy about sustainability. So let me just wrap up with some challenges, right? So I want to go back to the beginning around the role we each have in contributing to sustainability of society for regional progress, right? And I'm going to share this from the perspective of passion and experience, because I feel very strongly about getting value from technology, about changing lives in the region. But technology alone won't do it. Right? The first of is digital leadership. At the board level, at the executive level, private sector, public sector. I'm asking for increased accountability in that area. Of my time is focused on board awareness, executive awareness of the role they have, not just in understanding the potential of technology, but what the responsibility they have to create a digital organization. Change leadership, awareness of the risks, cybersecurity risks, AI risks, that's all a part of digital leadership. The other thing is empowered people with the right skills throughout the organization. So you can have strong leaders, but unless you have the capabilities within your organization, you're not going to move at the speed that you need to move. And I'm being very purposeful there, empowered people. Not just with the right skills, but with the right aptitude. I've come to discover that skills on their own are of no use unless you have people with the skills, with the right aptitude. People who can think horizontally. People who are entrepreneurial in nature. People who understand the value of data. People who are resilient with change. People who are outcome-based, right? That's as important. So you can tie the leadership responsibility to the need to develop those capabilities. The third thing is focus on integration. Focus on end-to-end. Eliminate the silos. Again, you will not get value from technology if it resides in silos. Real value comes from change in how work is done or doing new things. And the only way you do that is by adopting an end-to-end view. And the real challenge is, when you think end-to-end, don't just think within your own organization. Think end-to-end for your human that you're serving, because you're going to have to start systems to support that. Drive value and intelligence from data. Worship data. Understand its potential. Organize it. Let your people know their responsibility in managing data. Protect it because it's private. Secure it because it needs to be secured. Have the right people and systems and processes to do that. Accelerate the regulatory system. And I'm going to be bold enough that says that the region needs to modernize its procurement process. Today, we have procurement processes in both private sector and public sector that are accustomed to buying things. They aren't accustomed to buying services. Much more, how do you procure a partnership? If we are going to be true to ourselves, that says we need to be open to PPPs and that kind of stuff, for which in Jamaica, Fujitsu actually proactively did one, but the procurement process didn't know how to deal with it. So I think to move at speed, we have to accelerate the process of the regulatory adjustments and procurement processes to make sure that they still do what they're supposed to do, but that we end what we're looking for. And then finally, build and invest in partner ecosystems. One of the facts is that Fujitsu, in any solution that we provide, cannot succeed on its own. We are dependent on you, increasingly so. But the reality is that together we are also increasingly dependent on other people as well. So adopt an ecosystem approach. In doing so, we will convert vision to velocity and will focus on execution. Does that resonate? Does it make sense? I have to wake you guys up. Let me try and do that. So, Minister, you use the word how many times, right? Everything that I've just shared is called a challenge, call to action. How do you do it? When we say collaborate, how do you collaborate? It doesn't happen on its own. You have to make it happen. When you say get the skills and capabilities, it doesn't just happen on its own. You have to make it so. Innovation is in the form of how. When we go on Amazon and say, how do they do this, right? It's a how. What processes do they put in place to make this happen? Deliver, I order something and they deliver it in Jamaica. How? That's innovation. So the power of how. And then you have the power of speed, which is the power of now. And that is as equally important as the power of how. So you're with me on that? Are we together connected on power? So on that note, I'm going to step off of the stage. DJ, play the music. Thank you.